So I've just finished the first workshop in the Certified Online Learning Facilitator program, or COLF program, and one of the post-workshop reflective exercises that we've been asked to undertake is to read 2 short articles and then to record and reflect upon what we've learnt from reading those short articles. So the purpose of this video really is to get across the things that I've picked up, the things that I've considered, the things that I'd agree with or disagree with based upon that post-workshop reading. So here we go. The first article that we were asked to read was Making the Most of the Virtual Classroom by Bob Mosher, and there were 2 points that I picked up from this really. First of all was don't create interactions for the sake of it, and I'm a huge believer in that. I think all too often we read about sessions being poor because of lack of engagement or lack of interaction, and you must have interaction, and if you don't have any interaction in your learning activities then it's doomed to failure. Well, I would say that there are lots of things that we acquire information from that have limited or no interaction. Newspapers, TV shows, perhaps this video, a podcast, reading an article. You know, there are ways that current media can add interaction into those things, but by default that they're not built with interaction in, and yet we've learned incredible amounts from them, and I learn incredible amounts from them. So it was just a very timely reminder that we shouldn't get hung up on adding interaction into there for the sake of saying I've added interaction. It should be it should help to achieve the performance outcomes that we're looking to achieve from that learning activity. It should not be thrown in there just because it's been 3 minutes since we last had some interactivity, or it's been 5 slides, or whatever other weird and wonderful measures that there are out there for decreeing as and when an interactivity should be added. It should be added when it adds value to the performance outcomes and can assist in achieving the performance outcomes, not based upon some strange quota of interaction to slides or time. The second thing that I read, that I picked up from reading Bob's article, was about creating learning experiences outside of the virtual classroom as well as within, and that's a really keen thing for me. Is I'm a big believer in that there are very few things that we as learning and development professionals actually create that people really, and I mean the word truly, learn from. I think if we look at learning as a holistic experience, we've truly learned something when we can go away and we can apply it, or we can synthesize it, and we can apply it into another situation or a similar situation or even a vaguely different situation. We don't necessarily learn from the actual learning activity itself, and I think I believe that's a big misnomer. So I'm really keen that Bob mentioned that in his article, and the thing that I'll be keen to pick up on throughout the COLF program is providing media and providing information and providing activities that will allow people to embed behaviours or to be able to recall information quickly. But I'm not a fool to believe that actually the learning, the virtual classrooms, the webinars, the online sessions, that people will necessarily learn from them. I'm hoping that I can equip them with tools and with behaviours and with knowledge that they can apply back in the workplace, and then I'll be very happy that people have learned from them. So one of the things that I'll be looking at through the COLF program is, especially when I design my activity itself, my assessment, is that I'm not focusing just on that very small period of time that I have people virtually in front of me, but I'm actually recognising that the application of that back in their workplace. The second article that we were asked to read was by Alison Rossett, and it was entitled What Stinks About Webinars. Excuse me, I was just looking over to my notes over there, and there are a few things that I picked up from this. One thing that the article quoted was that webinars are low risk, easy, quick and cheap. And I would really challenge a lot of those assumptions there. First of all, I don't believe they're low risk. I think if you're within an organisation that is doing this for the first time, they're anything but low risk. It only takes 1 or 2 or just a couple of minutes worth of a very poor online activity, and you'll have turned that person, those people, that audience, potentially that organisation off for good. So I don't believe that they're low risk at all. I think they're low risk if you're a participant going on one, but I think in my position that you're actually responsible for rolling them out within an organisation, they are far from low risk. In fact, I think they're very high risk because of the low risk perception that's attached to them. I think it can lull people into a false sense of security. Are they easy? I think it's very easy to deliver a very crap virtual classroom, a very poor webinar, very difficult to deliver a very good one. So I'd say that they were far from easy. Are they quick? Again, very quick to roll out a poor one. A poor one has that knock-on effect of putting people off and therefore becomes high risk. I don't think it's quick at all to be able to put together a very good online activity. I think it takes a lot of time and effort and practice, and over time it may become quicker, but I think certainly in the initial stage it's far from that. And again, this perception of it being low risk, quick and easy can lead to some very poor online activities that can obviously put people off in organisations. One of the other things that was mentioned in Alison's article is that virtual classrooms are very easy to get up from and leave and exit, and that's a great thing if you're a participant. It can save you wasting time, but just think about it if you're the person that's responsible for rolling that programme out, if you're the person responsible for facilitating or coordinating that online activity, just think about that. It's very easy for your learners to switch off and walk away, or even leave it switched on and walk away. You will not be able to see them physically switch off from the activity as you will be able to in a classroom. In a classroom you can see them get out of their chairs, walk to the door, open it, step through it and close it behind them. You cannot see them do that in an online activity. Therefore, the great thing about them is that you can get up and leave. From a participant's perspective, is a very worrying thing from a learning and development professional's perspective as well. The final thing that I picked up from Alison's article, which was quite timely really, and it's the fact that the marketing in advance of many of these webinars promise this, that and the other, and actually when it comes to it they very rarely deliver on the specifics that were marketed for that particular online activity, that particular virtual classroom or webinar. And I say this is very timely because I participated in a few sessions at Learning Technologies 2013, and I felt exactly the same. I felt that what had been marketed as the content of the session, I felt that what we'd been told would be covered was either not covered, and it wasn't covered, or it was skimmed over so briefly that it was a little bit naughty really to say that that was going to be a key element or a key outcome of the session itself. And I mention this because it's just as possible and it's just as easily done that those things aren't followed through in the real world as they are with online activities as well. So it's a good point that Alison makes, and it's a very valid point, but it's certainly not peculiar to online activities as I myself have recently experienced. So those are my reflections on the first workshop from the COLF programme. Hopefully you'll be able to tune in and listen to my reflections from workshop number 2. Thanks for watching.